We're starting Siman Shin Chaf Dal today, which is about how much batter and dough you have to be Chayv Chal. So let me, this Shaila, I'm going to try to stay away from the deep math of it. Not everybody appreciates it. Taka been a big Shaila for many years, and we'll try to make some sense out of what the Shiur really is. Okay, let me start by reading the Shulchan. Okay, the Mechaber says, Halacha. Ein Chayv Chal el Chamishas Minit Tzvur. The only things that are Chayv Chal are the 5 main grains: wheat, rye, oats, spelt, and which one did I read? Spelt and barley. The Ein Chayv el Chamishas Revoim, and the amount that you Chayv is only if it is 5 1/4 kavim. 5 quarters, 1 1/4 kavim. Umida shemachzekes mem gimel bein v'chomish be'er b'malna kemach. If you have a container that holds 43 1/5 eggs, if you fill it up with flour, Shiur Challah, that's the amount that the Shiur Challah is. Okay, so the Shiur Challah is 5 quarters of a cow, which is equivalent to 43 1/5 eggs. You should fill it up to the top and not overfill it. If you look at Aruch, it tells you how to figure out what kli holds 43 eggs. How do you figure that out? If you just put 43 eggs in a container, there's loads of empty space there. Okay, so it talks in Aruch about how to do water displacement. And the weight of that dough, of that flour, would be dirhams or drams, I don't know how you pronounce it. The Rambam weighed it out and said it's equivalent to 520 of this special shear of the flour that they had in Mitzrayim. Okay, so what's the Mechaber saying? I'll read you the Rambam in a second. What's the Mechaber saying? The Torah says you have to be Hafrashas from Arisha Seichem, which the Gemara says means is the amount that people had in the Midbar when they got the mon. Okay, and other psukim tell us that the mon was 1/10 of an ephah, a serious ephah. Okay, an ephah, so it's 1/10 of an ephah. An ephah, the Gemara makes the cheshbon that an ephah is 432 bayim. Okay, the math is not so important for now. It's 432 bayim. So 1/10 of an ephah, the amount that they got when they were in the midbar, a serious ephah, the Omer was a serious ephah, was 43.2 bayim worth. Okay, that's how much they had.
Therefore, the Mechaber rounded up to 43.
No, he said 43.2. He said 43 and a fifth. That's what he says. Okay, that's how the Mechaber says the shear. That's 43 and a fifth bayim, based on the way we learn from the psukim. That the amount that they got in the mon, that's how much they have to be mafresh. Okay, then the Rambam says clear machzik eser etzbo'os al eser etzbo'os barum shalosh etzbo'os v'tishiyas etzba the karev. If you have a clear that's approximately 10 etzbo'os by 10 etzbo'os by 3 1/9 etzbo'os approximately. Or the chain midah sheish ba zayin etzbo'os pachos beit tishiyas etzba. Zayin etzbo'os beit tishiyas etzba barum. Zayin etzbo'os barum tish etzbo'os etzba. Then make you a cube of the same size. Who ha'omer? It's the same thing as the omer. The chol etzbo'os elohim roichav goydol shal yad. Etzba means the width of the thumb of an adult. It means an adult over 35.
Over how old?
Over 35. So that's what an etzbo'os is. So the Ramah gives us an etzbo'os. How does the Ramah get a shear that's an etzbo'os? Now I told you how the Mechaber got his shear. How does the Ramah get his shear? So that comes from the following. The Gemara says like this. The Gemara says that there's 2 ways you can measure the size of a mikvah. Okay, a mikvah has to be a certain size. Okay, so there's 2 ways. That's my mikvah. Okay, there's 2 ways that you can measure mikvah. One is that it's 40 saw. That's what people more famously know, that the shear of a mikvah is 40 saw. And then the other way is to measure that it's 3 cubic amas, because it's 3 amas by an amma by an amma. Okay, so there's 2 ways to measure a shear. Measure a mikvah. Saw is a volume measurement. Okay, volume measurement means like how much space something takes up. And of course, volume measurements could also be measured in what we call linear measurements, like an amma. Usually, an amma you measure for how far something is. I mean, you have 2,000 ammas for your tchum. It's a length, but a volume shear also could be measured in ammas. And the Gemara says they're equal. I mean, it's 40 saw, or I don't know which is the ikon. It's the same.
Yeah, it's called beside my mind.
So you want to know what's the makar to the shear? But for our purposes, it's the same. They come from the equal. It's either 40 saw or 3 ammas. 3 cubic ammas. That's the Gemara says the shear. And 40 saw, you really don't want to know the math, but 40 saw is equal to 3,840 reviyos. I don't know if I spelled that right. And 3 ammas is equal to 41,472 etzbo'os. Okay, the math don't worry about it. You have to believe me on them, yeah? So Mamela comes out that the shear is 1 revius is equal to 10.8 cubic Etzbo'os. Okay? If you get bored, you can figure out the math. Okay, so from this Gemara, it's a Gemara Pesachim, which shows us how to compare the volume measurements to the linear measurements, which, of course, there should be some relationship, tells us that 1 revius is this many Etzbo'os, and therefore the Ramah says when we have a shear, that the shear of challah is a tenth of an ephah, it's this many bayim, we can also give it to you in Etzbo'os measurements, and therefore he comes out that the shear is 311.11 cubic Etzbo'os. Okay, and the Ramah tells you how to make it clear like that. So what the Mechaber said and what the Ramah said are two ways of approaching it, just two different ways. The Mechaber approached it as beitzim, the Ramah approached it from Etzbo'os, but it's the same shear. Okay, and basically this is the Gemara Pesachim, where I have over here, not so colorful, but this is the Gemara Pesachim, and so they're just using that Gemara Pesachim to translate the shear to these two different things. Okay, they're both saying the same thing.
One question is, when you kept quoting the Etzbo'os, the Gemara term on Etzbo'os is always this thing.
No. For the shear it means a goydel. The proper way to say it is a goydel. I don't know. The proper way to say it is a goydel.
Right.
It means a thumb of a 35-year-old. Okay, and while I'm at it, I'll mention that bayim means it's actually a Mishnah. Bayim means an average size egg. Okay, an average size egg. In America, the government, the USDA grades eggs into 6 levels. Rav David Feinstein and others say that the level we consider to be average is what we call large. Okay, if you in your house have large, that's what that is the standard egg that we have nowadays. And that's what we consider large, is what we consider the average. Okay. So, all this is fine and good when we open up the Shulchan. Okay, and what you may well know is there's a famous kasha. The Na'vi Yehuda took these two things. The Mechaber said one way to measure. The Ramah said a different way to measure. And again, they are identical. They're identical. And he measured them, and lo and behold, they didn't come out to be the same amount. Okay, but they weren't off. They weren't off by a little bit. They were off by a tremendous amount. I'll show you in a second what they were off, but they were off considerably. They were off very much. So he said, the shear that people were using would have worked according to the ways of measuring by eggs, like the Mechaber says. That would have worked. According to the way of Etzbo'os, the shear would have been considerably larger. He says about twice as much. So he said it must be that what happened is the Etzbo'os got smaller, people shrunk, and this Katnu Hateris, the people shrunk. I'm sorry, the Baim got smaller, so I thank you, Jesse. So yes, you're right. Baim got smaller, and Mamela, what you should do is like this. Everyone should follow the shear that we've always been following, the shear which is a smaller amount. Everyone should follow the smaller shear. Don't change the din based on what he's doing. The smaller shear. The smaller shear. But he said the Ikka really is by Etzbo'os. That's the Ikka shear. That's the more stable and that's the correct shear. And therefore, l'chumra, you should be machmir for that shear. Okay, so the way that plays itself out is that l'chumra, we wouldn't make a bracha until we had the larger shear. But that's only for Hilchos Chal. There are other halachas where chumras come in different ways, like for mikvah. Yeah, that's a lot of the shaila has to do with the shailas in mikvah, and therefore, he said to be machmir where the Etzbo'os ends up being a bigger share. Okay, this, what you just mentioned about a mikvah, taka, there's a Beis Yosef and a Tashbetz, it's about exactly the shayla. Now, you read the shayla they talk about also, they were before him. They talk about the mikvah also. They also say you should be machmir. Okay, and there's been, since the Na'vi Yehuda, it's very famous, they say the shayla from the Tzlach, because it's printed in the Sefer Tzlach, I'm sorry. The Na'vi Yehuda, since he asked it, the Gra and the Chassam Sofer also went through the same shayla and said you should be machmir for this. We'll see that not everybody beats it. Okay, so let's, for us, I'm going to recreate the question, okay, and show you how it means numbers-wise, what it means, the shayla that he had. Okay, this stira, this contradiction that he has. Okay, like this. Okay, it goes like this. Okay, we're gonna look at things. We're gonna look at three different things. Okay, there's going to be so many numbers. I had to put some pictures. Okay, we're gonna look at Bayim, Etzbo'os, and the Shiur Challah. Okay, and I know that's not what the Shiur Challah is. That's what you eat on Shabbos, but that's what goes to Shiur Challah. Okay, there's too many numbers for you guys. Okay, so let's look at it like this. Rav Moshe said that he went ahead and he looked at Etzbo'os and he found out that the average size of an etzbah is 2.3 centimeters. Okay, if you look at the tshuva and you see it says a little differently than that, I'll explain that afterwards. Okay, but he says it's 2.3 centimeters. That's what he said. And in fact, I myself have measured about 70 people, okay? Yeah.
That's what you do.
No, that's not what I used to do it at yeshiva dinners. Okay, when all people are just sitting around bored. All the men are by themselves. It's all men. You have to measure men who are over 35. They're all bored. So I would walk. I did not use them Friday. So I'd walk around and measure their thumbs. I have a caliper.
Now the word inch is really an extra.
Oh, very good. I'm getting to that in a second. Very good. I wasn't sure I was going to mention that. Okay, so we'll see. So he measured. He said the error. He said the shear is 2.3 centimeters, which is his mom. It's accurate. I mean, I saw the same thing myself. That's what he says is the shear.
Where is that in inch?
A little less than an inch. No, he doesn't even ask. I'm just saying when he says it is, and it comes out that if you make the cheshbon according to the way the Ramah said it, it comes out that the Shiur Challah is 3,784 cubic centimeters. Okay, now at the very end, I'm going to explain to you what that means. The way we work, like in pounds. That's how much. For our purposes, we're going to work in cubic centimeters. That's a volume measurement. Okay, that's how much it will be according to Ramah. Now, compared to that is Rabbi Ram Chaim Nah, who is the as you probably know, the big supporter of following the old Shiurim the way they always were, and not following these new ideas of how you should make the Shiur. He said we're going to accept for now what he said, that a beya is 57.66 cubic centimeters. Okay, for now we're going to accept that as what he said. He said that's how much a beya is. And Mamela, if you count what the Mechaber says, look the way the Mechaber looked, comes out that the shear is 2491 cubic centimeters. Okay, so here's the question. Okay, this is the Yehuda's question. Okay, this is our modern version of the Yehuda's question, which is the shear 2491 or is the shear 3784? It can't be both. But if you count one way, the Ramosha went according to the way the Ramah counts it, he came up with one shear. And Ram Chaim, according to the way the Mechaber writes it, he comes up with a different shear. Okay, so what are we supposed to do? Which one is it? Is it this shear or this shear? Okay, so they're just numbers-wise, they're just putting in front of us the nafkamina between them. Is it this shear or is it that shear? Okay, so the truth is, really, since we're having a shear about this, really we should talk about the shilas. There are a lot of very serious halachic shilas about what to do about this. Shilas as in like, when Chazal made up Shiurim, which ones did they mean to be the ikar? What would be the din if the things change? If things are not the same, the eggs are not the same size that they used to be. What has happened to the shear because of that? What should we do? There's lots of details. How you shire all of these things? Is it a bear with its peel or without its peel? Are Etzbo'os measured, squeezed together or separated? There's lots of parts to the shilah, and we're not going to talk about any of that. Okay? I'm going to talk to you about. I'm going to leave it as a question and just bring out to you some of the things that are harder to understand, that it's even more complicated or more mysterious than these two numbers make. Okay, and that is like this. Okay. So if you say let's see what there's. Let's look at the beya side of it first. According to the way Ramosha said that the etzba is 2.3 centimeters. Okay, it comes out that if we calculate it backwards, we're going to come up with a beya that's going to be more than 87 cubic centimeters. Okay, that's compared to what Ram Chaim is saying. Okay, if we work Ramosha's number backwards, okay, he didn't tell us that number, but if we calculate it backwards, according to what the Mechaber says, it comes up to that size. Okay, well, a couple of years ago, 10 years ago, somebody wrote an article. The article is it's a summary of things that are written primarily from a sefer called Midas for Shiur Torah. Okay, it's a sefer. That sefer is written by somebody who's like deep into all of this stuff and really understands all these things much better than any of us. And this, so I'm telling you from the English version of the article. I did not check every one of the Maram Kremis. There he shows that at the time of Matan Torah, at the time of the Gemara, when the Rambam was written, and even the time of the Negi Yehuda, how big were eggs? Eggs. I don't know why I'm not showing this on my screen. Eggs. Okay, I'm sorry. I have to show you a button which is like this. That's better. The Kodesh Ram Chaim Etzbo'os are 2 centimeters. Okay, that's for now.
You went backwards.
If we went it backwards, if we undid it, we came back to 2 centimeters. Now, what comes out that in all those times, in Matan Torah, in the Rambam's time, all these times, people, how much were eggs really? How much was the size of eggs? Size of eggs were 45 cubic centimeters.
What does that mean?
Look, he made a cheshbonis to tell us. So, for example, I'll give you an example. I'll give you an example. The Gemara says that Rebbe was given a container called a Modia. Okay? The Gemara says it's in Gemara in Eruvin. Rebbe was given a Modia. Okay, it has the name in Greek is Modiam or Modias, I forgot what it's called. They gave Rebbe a certain container. And the Gemara says that it had the volume of 207 eggs. Right? And Tosfos will make 217 eggs. That 207 eggs fit, it had the volume of 207 bayim. Okay? Well, that container exists. Okay? It was a well-known measure, a Greek and Roman measurement of this container. That was a known container. It's like saying a pint. Okay? It wasn't a pint, but it's like saying a pint. It was a well-known measure. They have ones existing. Okay? I'm waiting to hear back from the Living Torah Museum. He said he has one also. He's going to measure for me. But according to the way you measure those, they have approximately the amount that comes out to 45 bayim. Okay, it has this much, it holds this much. It's a known measure. It holds this much, and you can't remember, Rebbe said it had 207 eggs. That means an egg was 45. Okay? If he had many rice along the... Matan Torah, what was his rice? I don't remember. I don't remember all of the rice. Okay, for each one, he has had a bunch of points in history.
Archaeological rice.
No, not, well, the word archaeological, they're partially archaeological.
It's not a trade word to me.
No, I'm saying, this is half archaeological. The Gemara says Rebbe had this container. The Rebbe had this container, had this amount.
Yeah, it's combining archaeology.
Yes, parts of it are, yes. Okay, then, similarly, okay, I don't know if you
I know he put rice in the size of his eye by finding pits.
right, okay, we're completely staying away from Kazais today. Okay, no, Kazais has its own special complication. We're staying away from that. Staying away from okay, now, this is not in the article. This is something else, which is, I don't think it's in the article. Okay, a few years after the Churban Bayesheni, okay, there was a huge volcano eruption. Okay, Rabbi Short says that it was paying back the Romans. Okay, it arose in Vesuvius, yes, in Pompeii. A huge volcano erupted. Okay, and it obliterated a whole bunch of areas in Italy. Okay, one of the places that was buried was a place called Pompeii. Okay, and it wasn't until the 1700s that people started excavating it and digging through it to find out what was there. And lo and behold, among the things that they found there was a bowl that had in it a bunch of whole eggs in it. Okay, now there's another bowl, it's not here in the picture, that has a bunch of cracked eggs. Okay, that person, I spoke to the people who have the cracked eggs, and the guy had a lot of things to say, but not something so scientific. But these ones are whole. Okay, they're in a museum in Naples. So I asked Rabbi Chazan to speak to these people. He speaks Italian. He was in Italy. I don't know where he lives. And he spoke to them, and they wrote him back a letter telling him, we said to them, you can't even see these. These are like in a private, hidden part of the museum. He said to them, could you guys do me a favor and measure the eggs for me? Okay, we were researching this. Could you do me a favor and measure the eggs? Which they did. Okay, they wrote us back a letter. And the thing is, I think most of you don't speak Italian. I don't know about you guys. Well, so we had Rabbi Chazan translate it for us, and the letter says, no.
Now, of course, he knows they also have medium eggs and small eggs and large eggs.
I'm well aware of that. Just give me a second, okay? We looked at the thing. Thank you for your question, and we found that the two eggs were this big by this big, and this big by this big, the two eggs, which comes out, if you make the cheshbon, okay, if you do the math, it comes out that the two bayim were either 47.5 cubic centimeters or about 39 cubic centimeters. Okay?
The egg is an action.
Excuse me?
The conversion of the
How
amount.
did you,
Anybody wants the math, I'll talk to you afterwards. Okay? I try to avoid the math in the thing. You have to just believe me for now. If you want afterwards, I'll be happy to tell you. Okay. So, of course, this is just two eggs. Now, there were really three eggs in the picture. I don't know why we only got measurements for two. But this is only two eggs. And it could be that this was just one guy who had two really tiny eggs. Doesn't prove anything. This is not like the case of Rebbe that he took a known container, measured it, but it just those are telling us things that are approximately what these people are saying that it's that size. Okay, so
What's a large egg by us nowadays?
I'm coming to
Oh, you
that.
did.
For now, we're taking Rav Chaim's word that they're 57.
egg size is right. The biggest eggs are twice as big as the small.
Right. We're looking for average eggs. Looking for average.
No, I'm saying it's like not right.
No, from two eggs is not right at all. No, but okay, whatever. You do about the hashgacha however you want. Okay, so I was talking to Chaim Loiki about this. Okay, Chaim Loiki works for the OU. He's an expert on everything to do with birds and eggs and etc. And he says to me,
You know they have chicken eggs.
okay, that's a bit. We assume that we see eggs or chicken eggs. Okay, so he says to me like this. I spoke to him about it. I asked him what he thought. So he says like this. He says, nowadays, egg production, like everything else, is very commercialized. Okay? And the way they decide which chickens to have and to not have depends on which ones are the best producers, which ones are the most efficient, and which ones make the eggs that people want the most. Okay? So not only do they pick specific kind of birds, but they even breed birds to make them be just the right kind, to lay the most eggs and the biggest eggs and the most often eggs, etc., etc. And when they stop laying eggs the way they like to, off they go. They get sent off to, for shechita. Okay, so he says to me, you should just know. He says, this didn't make it here in time. It's supposed to be getting here. He says, he says, I have to tell you that the people believe that the eggs that we use, nowadays, the chicken laying farms use two chickens primarily, two types of chicken. One is called the white leghorn, those lay the white eggs. And the other one is called the Rhode Island red, they lay the brown eggs. Okay, those are the most efficient machines for laying eggs. Okay, and that's what everybody uses. He says, but it's believed that the zeti of all these kind of chickens, of the common chicken we have now, is called the gray jungle fowl. Okay, and of these two eggs that you see over here, the left one, he just got one. He has one in his backyard. Okay, a gray jungle fowl. Okay, see, he's got one of those. And it's
chicken.
Yeah, and it laid an egg. That's the egg that it laid. The left one, the white one, is the one that it laid. And next to it, the brown egg is a regular egg. Now, I don't know if it was a large or extra large. I'm waiting on that. I'm getting some measurement. But that small one's supposed to be coming to us because it didn't hatch. He was hoping it would hatch. He says if it doesn't hatch, you can have it. So it's supposed to be on its way here. So if you look at the size of them, the gray jungle fowl egg is obviously much smaller than the other egg is. And really,
The brown is what, an extra large egg?
I don't know if it was a large or extra large. I don't know. But it's an egg from today. Okay, but it's noticeably bigger than the other one is. And he says because those eggs, the gray jungle fowls, lay much smaller eggs. Okay? Now, nowadays, that's not commercially viable. That's not what works. So they bred eggs or they pick chickens that make the right eggs. So we don't have to have a question to us, which is how come the eggs, if things indicate that eggs used to be 45 centimeters, now they're 57 centimeters, it's not a kasha to us why the eggs are different. Because we use different chickens. It's as if, of course this is not true, but it's as if, what happens if everybody would stop eating chickens and we'd only eat turkeys? Okay, I'm assuming that turkeys have bigger eggs than chickens do. Okay, we wouldn't say that the shear changes, but we wouldn't be surprised that our egg doesn't look like our Bubby's eggs because we're using a different bird. Okay, so basically we're using a different type of chicken or a more highly specialized chicken. So the the oddity that our eggs don't look like are not the size of those eggs is not so strange. It's a different kind of bird. Okay, doesn't answer the kasha. Okay, it's not helping us figure out, well, what should we do now? Should we use the little eggs or the big eggs? We haven't answered the question, but we answered, just help us understand is why is it that we don't have the eggs that they have? Okay, we don't find, that's not odd to us that our eggs are not the same as their eggs. Okay.
But we still don't have eggs of the Hafrashas side saying what would be cute.
Right, no, but actually, you're right. Well, I need to finish the sentence, which is to say, but that in the times of Chazal, the eggs were 87. Okay, that we have no basis for saying that. According to, as the Cheshbon came out, that according to what Moshe is saying, the eggs in the times of Chazal were 87 and a half cubic centimeters. Okay, we have no basis for that. Okay, his share of 2.3 centimeters for Etzbo'os tells us that theoretically the eggs back then were 87. You'll see the similar thing. The eggs back then were really big. If anything, the things indicate that eggs back then were even smaller. Not that they were bigger, that they were even smaller than they were now. So that's adding to our complication over here, which is Ramesh is saying the Ikar Shir is finally Etzbo'os. Fine, good, I'm happy with that. But that's only making the question more complicated, which is the answer must be the eggs got smaller. Okay, but the eggs l'chayra didn't get smaller; they actually got bigger. So I'm not so bothered that they're bigger than they used to be. But I don't see any indication that they're smaller. It's hard to see an indication that they were smaller. He's saying that they're close to twice the size, when actually we think they got bigger. Okay, they got half as small, and actually we think they got bigger. Okay, now. So that's on the Be'ah side of it, from the egg side of it. Okay, now let's turn to the Etzbo'os side of it. Okay? So, in Etzbo'os side, we have a shear of 2. Runtime knows like calculated shear of 2. Ramesh says the shear is actually 2.3. And Chazon Ish says that the shear is 2.4 centimeters. Okay, now to us it sounds like a very little. I mean, a tenth of a centimeter sounds like almost nothing. Okay, but you look at the bottom, you see what it did to the Shiur Challah. You see what happened to the Shiur Challah by going up by just a couple of points of centimeters. Okay, now
doesn't say here.
No, I didn't get to the Chazon Ish yet, but just the Ramosha and Ramosha. Or
Yeah.
Okay, the Shiur Challah, what is supposed to be exactly in between the Chazon Ish and Ramosha? No.
Not exactly.
not exactly, not perfectly in the middle, but it is in between.
Right.
20
and
1 and a quarter. 20. Okay, so now let's look again at the measurements of thumb sizes. Okay, this is from my measurements, just to try to give you a place of where things belong. Okay, so let's look at the sheet that we have over here. Okay, that's a Rum Chainah, in case you don't recognize this picture. Okay, that's a Rum Chainah. Okay, his etzba, he's telling us that the etzba is 2 centimeters. Okay, to find an etzba that's 2 centimeters is not easy. Okay, that's not an easy thing. It's at the end of the scale of what I was able to find. Okay, to find people that were that size. Ramosha's size of 2.3 is right in the middle, and it's, when you look at that, that looks like an average normal etzba to you. Okay, and the Chazon Ish's etzba, which is 2.4, is on towards the extreme end. Okay? It's not that you can't find it, but it's not at all, to me, when you look at it, after you looked at enough thumbs, when you see one of those thumbs, you say, this is a big thumb. Okay, it's not what you say, you don't look at it and you say, this is an average thumb. Okay, so, ready? Okay, so,
What's the height of this?
What are those heights over there?
heights of what?
The peaks of how much?
There's how many? There's how many percentage of people?
Zero,
How many,
five,
percentage of people?
10, 15.
How many people of the ones that I measured had that many thumbs?
Choose a
There are
lot.
many in the 2.35 to 2.4 range.
Right.
If you round it off,
So in the average came out where Ramosha said, and Ramosha was like right. The thumbs that Ramosha shows look, so to speak, average to you. They look regular to you.
The values are meaningless. Just the peaks mean things, right? You don't have less
No,
of
yes, correct. Yes.
2.26 of
Yes, it's just like yes. Okay, okay. So in order to just show you the picture, I'm sorry, is not going to that doesn't do justice to the truth. Okay, these are 3 thumbs. Okay, me, Yankee, and Akiva. Okay, these are 3 thumbs over here. Okay, if you look at it, the picture where it doesn't do justice to is Akiva's thumb. Okay, but if you look over here, you'll see when you look at these 3 people's thumbs, you'll see that Rabbi Eisenbach's thumb is noticeably bigger. If you start paying attention, like I've been doing in the past few days, looking around shul people, because I'm looking for the guy with the small thumbs. When you start paying attention, you use your right thumb, guys. Okay, it's a right thumb you're supposed to measure with. If you look around, you'll look at Yankee and say, that's I have no idea if it is. That's what you're supposed to use. You say, oh my gosh, that looks like a big thumb. Mine, for the picture, I don't have a 2.3. Okay, but mine, of course, I think that I'm normal and average and regular. So mine is what is in the area of average. And Rabbi Niehaus's is on the skinnier side. Okay, when you see those, I'm telling you, if you look at the chart, you see that the 2 centimeter thumbs are the thinner ones. Okay, and you should know, I forgot to tell you, I think it's a Chazon Ish who says, you don't measure by small people, okay, it depends on thumbs. Okay, a lot of doctors do small people have small thumbs. Doesn't always go together. Okay, so now,
Large people have big thumbs.
not necessarily.
You should prove it.
Well, and just one guy did it doesn't prove it. Now, it happens to be in support of I don't know where the Chazon Ish really, I don't know where he came from that the shir should be so large. Remember, I have to just put you in place here, is that Rabbi Ram Chaim is saying the Iker is the Beitzim. That's what he's following. He's sort of ignoring the Etzbo'os. Ramosha and the Chazon Ish are saying the Iker is the Etzbo'os. And it's not Etzbo'os in theoretical. It's Etzbo'os of what I have today in front of me. Okay? I'm not sure where the Chazon Ish got that the 2.4 is an average thumb. I don't know where that came from, because again, we didn't see it here. Maybe people in Bnei Brak have bigger thumbs than we do, but I don't know. But we don't see it. Okay, you know, there's a joke on the Shulchan Aruch. You know, usually it's not jokes in Shulchan Aruch, but there's a joke. They said they said maybe it's working on the side. They said maybe the reason why you think the shir is so big is because you're a big guy and you have big thumbs. Okay, and he laughed at it. Okay, and they're trying to figure out whether he was laughing because very funny or laugh because that's just so silly to think. You think I just looked at one thumb? It's not. So there's a joke here. It's on the side of Shulchan Aruch. You know. Anyhow, so it's not clear to me where he came from, but you should know what David mentioned before is that there's in Roman measurements there's a measurement called unkia. Okay, in the Gemara. Okay, an unkia. Okay, which it's also called a pollux. I don't know if I'm pronouncing that correctly. Okay, the word pollux means the large digit on your hand or foot. Okay, a thumb. Okay, that's what a pollux means. And that amount in Roman measurements was 2.47 centimeters. Okay, that was the amount of that thing called unkia, or the pollux, which I don't know what that meant. Did the Romans have very big thumbs, or was it just a theoretical measurement called a thumb, which they measured as 2.47. It doesn't have to be it was a real thumb. Maybe it was just like there, or maybe there was the Caesar's thumb. I have no idea whose thumb it was. Okay, but there was such a measurement called a thumb, basically called a thumb, and it was the size, roughly what the Chazon Ish says is the shear. Okay, so I don't know how, again, the Chazon Ish is not supposed to be being historical. The Chazon Ish is telling you the shear is based on what you have today in front of you, but there's some basis where I'm not really sure what. Okay, now.
It's 2.47 centimeters an inch.
Approximately. It's almost exactly. Okay, so now, but we have a problem. Okay, the problem is that if we, let's go on. According to the Chazon Ish, I forgot, I'll tell you, look at how big a bay it's supposed to be in the days of Chazal. It's supposed to be almost 100 centimeters in the days of Chazal. If we make the numbers, work the numbers backwards, which again, we have a hard time justifying. He says, I don't know, doesn't say what it is. I don't know what it was, and I don't really care. The Etzbo'os is the Ikashir, this is the size of an Etzbo'os, this is what you should work with. But if we just look at the numbers, it comes out to a bay. I'm not answering the question, I'm just telling you that we're going through the details to show you how difficult the question is. Okay, now, and according to the Chazon Ish, the Shiur Challah is like that, okay? Even bigger. Okay, now.
It's double.
Now.
Basically. Right?
It's supposed to be.
Almost
the sentence is going to be double. Okay, we're not finished yet. Okay, now. The people who would say that the bay is only 45 centimeters, which they have all kinds of proofs to that, they have a problem. Okay? The problem that they have is how big is going to be an Etzbo'os according to them. Okay, their Etzbo'os is going to be 1.85 centimeters. Okay, when you see somebody with a finger with that size Etzbo'os, okay, the person looks like he's unhealthy. Okay, we don't see. Well, now I don't know yet how big the Etzbo'os were then. Okay, but to us that looks like a really. When you see that, you're like, what's with this person that he has such a narrow Etzbo'os? Okay, now at the same time, but
it's not that much different than Rabbi Noah. I mean,
it is. Well, it is. The 2 was already stretching it. To find a 2 was not so easy. I know Akiva's a special person. It's a calculated cheshbon. If the egg was 45, then that was the Etzbo'os. It's just calculated out to figure out what it was. Now, lo and behold, I mentioned to you there was this article. Okay, and the article says that there was a tunnel dug by Chizkiyahu HaMelech. Okay, and the tunnel, they dug it from 2 sides at once, as is common. They dug from both sides. And when they got to the middle, when the 2 sides met, they put an inscription on the wall. Okay, now, to me and you, it looks like hieroglyphics. Okay, we can't read Lashon Kodesh written like that. But people can. And the inscription says that on this and this day, or whatever it is, we finished this, we dug the tunnel, and we met in this spot, and now we have this tunnel which is 1,200 amos long. It's 1,200 amos long, and the water is flowing, and whatever else it says, it goes on and on to say what it has to say. Okay, well, they found this tunnel not so long ago, and they measured the tunnel. Okay, and the tunnel is 533 meters long. Okay, and if you make the cheshbon, it comes out to an Etzbo'os that's 1.85 centimeters. Wow. Okay, comes out at the shear of that tunnel. It measures exactly. They said it's 1,200 amos. It comes. I don't want to say exactly, but almost exactly to the shear that this. People are suggesting that the eggs were so small then the Etzbo'os would be this size, and the tunnel is an exact match. The tunnel says it's 1,200 amos long, and they measured, and it's exactly right. We make the cheshbon 1.85 centimeters, whatever the cheshbon is. We're not in amos, we're thinking about challah, but
actually like one Etzbo'os.
It's one Etzbo'os. There's 24 Etzbo'os in an amma. So whatever the cheshbon is, it comes out to this size. Okay, so I don't know what to tell you. We don't see Etzbo'os like that, but here we have an indication again that in those times things were small. We don't know what to do with it now. I'm not answering you. I'm just bringing out the shadow. Now, to make things more complicated, one last thing to complicate things, which is, it's not like I'm going to give you this big issue when it's over. Okay, but the more thing to complicate is I was in touch with somebody, someone named Richard Steckel. Okay, he's a researcher. And this person, among his other accomplishments is that he looked at studies of skeletons for the past 1,000 years. Okay? And he compared skeletons from all over the place for the past 1,000 years. And he found that the people nowadays are almost exactly the same size as they were back then. And it was consistent. People were consistently the same size for the past 1,000 years, except from the years approximately 1600 to 1800. Okay, from the years 1600 to 1800, people shrank. Okay? Inexplicably, or whatever he has in his class, but people shrank. They noticeably dropped in size, and now they're back up to where they were again. Okay? And of course, that's when the Neighbor lived.
The average person born now is told in their pants.
I'm not the scientist. So you could, I was in touch with him. If you want, I'll give you his email address. You could talk to him. I was in touch with him. And of course, between 1600 and 1800 is exactly when Nebi Yehuda lived. He died in 1793. Okay, so the Nebi Yehuda, here's the Nebi Yehuda telling us that his people, now, this is a measurement of skeletons, not measurement of thumbs. Okay, because there was no flesh and stuff on the skeletons that he found, and he wasn't caring about thumbs. But we just assume that if people are the same size, their thumbs were probably the same size. I don't know if that's accurate or not. We just make that assumption. But here's the Yehuda is telling us that people are bigger than we're seeing thumbs that seem to be bigger. Well, thumbs, the people were the same size. I don't know, 1,500 years ago. His study goes back like 1,000 years. Excuse me.
Want a glass of water?
Yes, please. Anyhow. Ooh. Okay. Anyhow, so now...
Just don't do the math wrong, Bob.
Okay, so... The according to the shear, the last thing on this slide is... Here's the shear. If you use this really tiny shear, it comes up to 1969 cubic centimeters. All the way up to... The highest shear we have is 4299, which, as the Nebuchadnezzar says, is twice as much as what that shear was originally. Okay. So this question is so, it's such a conundrum. It's like such a stuck. People don't know where to go. There was one person who wrote an article.
The evidence means that it's small. Right?
That things are smaller now or they're bigger now? That they were smaller.
Shiurim are small.
Correct. And that was, wait, Yossi, that was the minhag. Thank you. The minhag always was based on the small shiurim. Yossi, Kaisel always, all the places we talk about say, we always did the following small share, but I have a question. Okay, now, it was so extreme, the question is so extreme that somebody printed an article a number of years ago.
Which
Okay.
did I miss?
You didn't miss anything.
Square root of sin over 5 inches.
Someone wrote an article that was so radical, and it was like, it shows the desperation of people. He said, essentially the person said, all person got a certain little piece of information wrong, and based on which we all went off the deep end, okay? And this person wrote an article in a respected Torah journal, not the Arch Journal, not that, but a respected Torah journal, to say that basically everyone's got it all wrong for the past 1,000 years, and I figured out the problem to solve the problem because this and this, and I'm not going to tell you what it says, and everybody came and attacked it. Okay, so I'm just trying to show you the desperation and the how stuck it is, that there isn't any simple answer to this mess. I mean, this question is just a mystery. Okay, the whole thing is we're waiting for Mashiach to explain it all this stuff. Okay, so now, for sure. Oh, for sure. Everyone's going to ask him different things. Everyone's going to want different things from him, but we're going to ask him to see his thumbs and his chicken, and we want to see his chicken also. So now, okay. So what do we do? What do we do, Lamaisa? So what do we do, Lamaisa? Okay. What are we supposed to do here? We have a minhag. We have a whole question here, a very serious question here. What are we supposed to do? So the answer. There's two parts. There's a two-pronged approach to this, to how to deal with Lamaisa. Not to the question, just to how to deal with Lamaisa with this problem. The first is, I told you, the Tzlach says it, Chazanish says it, all people who want to say the bigger shir say the following. They say, the minhag is what the minhag was. The minhag was correct, and everyone should follow what the minhag is. When it's a chumrah to follow a bigger shir that I'm suggesting, each one his own way, follow my shir. But the minhag is correct. Don't ever think of using my shir as a way to be makel. Okay? My share is a way to be machmir under the right circumstances, because I think it's a good question. But I'm not at all to put down the minhag that wasn't told then, which there was no arguing that the minhag was. All the place can talk about, sizes. They say it's of this size, it's of this size, and everybody knew what those was. We don't, but everyone knew what those were, and it was all the same. Everyone had the same share. So that's one point. The second is, the Mishnah Berurah says that this is like a classic case of you have a sveika dedina. We don't know what to do. We're not getting out of the problem. And what are you doing as a sveika dedina? You do is by the rice is yimachmir, and by the rabbanon yemekel. So the Mishnah Berurah says that's what you should do. He says if you have a shaila with the rice, you should be machmir. You have a shaila with the rabbanon, you don't have to be machmir. Okay, we have a sveika dedina. It's like a classic. I mean, we completely bang our heads against the wall, not knowing where to go. It's a sveika dedina. Machmir for the rice is not for the rabbanon. So therefore, if we would only say the second part, I said it in two parts because like this. If you only say what the Mishnah Berurah said, which is be machmir for the rice is make a drabanan, then we would say Hafrashas nowadays is a drabanan. Hafrashas chutzar is for sure. It's even an Torah. We would be mako. We would say don't be mafresh until the biggest year. That's what we would do if we knew just the Mishnah Berurah. That's what we would say.
Even without a bracha?
We would do nothing. We would say, Seika Dedina, B'Mekel, and go according to the bigger share. But knowing the other half, which is that even the Machmirim, the heads of the Machmirim said, don't follow this share where it leads to a kula. Follow the minhag the way it always was. Clients always had that minhag. So what we do in practice is that we follow the smaller share for being Hafrashas Challah, but don't make a bracha until we get to the bigger share. Okay, so the smaller share is what we do for the mitzvah, because that was the minhag. Clients always did that way. But we don't make a bracha. We're being machmir to not make the bracha until we get to a bigger share. Okay.
So what do I come in the house to this?
You're very good. That's exactly what I'm coming to. So right now I'm talking about the theoretical. We're about to get to practical. I have all my toys here for you. You'll see. Just give me a second. Okay. So now.
Show and tell.
Yeah, show and tell. Okay. So I'm just going to review to you the Shiur Challah in cubic centimeters. Okay. According to our three sheets over here, these are the three. This is the shear. What I'm showing on this screen is the truth, so to speak. This is the shears in volume, how much it really is. Okay. This is the shear in cubic centimeters according to these three sheets. A way to use that in practice. Okay, but most people don't have cubic centimeters, is in cups. Okay, we measure things in, I know it says milliliters here, but it's not true. It's cups, okay, and these are in American cups, 8-ounce cups. This is how many cups is the Shiur Challah. Okay, that's so to speak the truth. Okay, this is what the real shear is. What you're about to see in the next screen is, so to speak, not the truth. Okay, this is the shear, how much it really is. So if you have a little more than 8 cups of the flour, you're Hafrashas Challah without a bracha. If you have 18 cups, or most people do 16 cups, like Moshe says, then you'll be mafshir with a bracha. Okay, the reason why most people, you'll see, favor Ramosha over the Chazon Ish is because I said to you, Ramosha and the Chazon Ish are both based on an assumption, are based on what are thumbs today? And Ramosha says, I don't know what to tell you. I don't know what the other people said. I measured the thumbs and this is what they are. Okay, so if the whole reason to be machmir is because of what the thumbs are that go with the 16s. Okay, so most people would make a bracha at 16 cups. Okay, so now, what does that mean? What does that mean in pounds? Okay, now in order to do it in pounds, I have to caution you, it was hinted at in the Mechaber. The Mechaber says that the Rambam measured it that at 520 dirhams from the Kemach Chitim Sheb Mitzrayim. Because in every country and in every even type of flour, it's not the same. Okay, it's not the same. The density of each thing is not the same in each place, whatever. This shear is really a volume shear, not a weight shear. We convert it to weight because it's convenient for people, and Paskin through generations always did that. So, here's what we did. I bought these cups, these 4 identical cups over here. Okay, Walmart special, 88 cents. Okay, these 4 cups. In one of them, I put water. I didn't bring the water here for today. Too messy. One of them I put in water, and the way it works is in the metric system is that a gram of water takes up 1 cubic centimeter. Okay, that's the metric system how it works. That's the measurements are based on that yisoid. That 1 gram of water is 1 cubic centimeter. So by measuring a cup full of water in grams, I know how many cubic centimeters this cup holds. Okay, it's a way to figure out the volume very quickly. Okay. Then I took each of these 3 things over here and filled them with a different one of the chamishas midagim to figure out what the shear is going to be. And we do like this. This is oatmeal. Okay, courtesy of Yankee. This is oatmeal. We just like this. And it came out.
So what's that brand?
Then we calculated, it is actually quicker. We calculated how much it is, and this is how many pounds it comes out in oatmeal. Okay, it goes from, the range is from 1.6 pounds for the smallest, all the way up to the chazon will be 3.5 pounds of oatmeal. Okay, that's when you're measuring oatmeal. By the way, here it's not full, but when I did it at home, I tried to do it carefully. It's just for the neatness of it. Now, that's oatmeal. That's like pieces of oatmeal. Okay, but then I put on oat flour. Okay, the cones use gluten-free oat flour. Okay, but oat flour. Okay, now flour is of course much finer than the oatmeal, and you see that the shear is a little heavier. A little bit more oat flour fits into the same size container. So the shear goes then ranges from 1.8 pounds all the way up to almost 4 pounds. Okay, that's how much the shear ranges when using the oat flour. And then I use regular wheat flour, regular white flour. Okay, this is white flour, and white flour is even heavier. Okay, and now you're going to see shear that looks familiar to most of you probably, which is the low end of the shear is 2.5 pounds. So 2.5 pounds of white flour is the amount we'd be Hafrashas Challah from without a bracha, up to Ramosha's 4.7 or Chazon more than that, which is what we would tell people: you don't make a bracha until it's around 5 pounds. Okay, so it's close to 5 pounds, not make Challah. Now, I'm not talking to you about.
But that would only be on wheat flour.
Correct. I'm not talking to you about. Rega. Whole wheat flour is its own special shaila. It's going to be halacha gimel. Halacha gimel. So I'm not doing that for now. We'll talk about whole wheat flour when we get to halacha gimel. It has a very interesting modern shaila to it. And then the other flours I wasn't able to get yet, which is
flour.
barley flour is really uncommon, but spelt and rye flour are much more common.
Rye we haven't get it from the.
So I just haven't gotten it
You
yet.
didn't tell me you got from the bakery.
Sorry. But my impression from earlier times is that rye and spelt flour are similar to wheat flour. That's my impression, but we really need to check it again. Okay, now I have my beautiful pink cups. But you see here that it highlights to you the difference between one and the other. Okay, the shear is not. You don't say to people that the shear is 2.5 pounds of Hafrashas challah. It depends 2.5 pounds of what. 2 pounds of regular wheat flour is correct. You'd be Hafrashas from 2.5 pounds. But being Hafrashas from oat flour, that's not the shear. That's not correct. You missed it. Okay, and it'll be negated in a little way when we try to make the tevel batters. We try to make one that has a Shiur Challah. Then when we put the oats into that, we don't need as much oats as we do.
Actually, I think people who are in the kitchen, you tell them cups, they're better off.
Okay, so if you work with cups, that works fine. We had in the last slide was how many cups it has to be, and that also works for people. For some people, that works fine also to say this many cups. Cups is a volume. Now,
I
cups
always
is
tell people 10 cups, but it doesn't come out. It's got to be more than 10 cups.
So bracha?
Yeah.
Yeah. So
We've always told, I think it's even in our...
I hope not. So cups.
Cups, he says about 6.
Right, cups is the truth, and the cups is across the board. It's always this many cups because that's a volume.
5 pounds.
Yeah.
And 8 ounces is 5...
No. You're confusing two things. The word ounce in American measurements has two things. It's a weight measurement. There are 16 ounces in a pound. That's a weight measurement. And then it's a volume measurement, which is 128 ounces in a gallon. And those are not the same thing.
I'm just telling you
They're not the same thing.
Here in the oven, we say if you use 10 cups of flour...
So now you're smarter.
With a bracha.
So now you're smarter.
I think it's in all our...
Okay, we'll check. We'll see what it says. Okay, that's it.